So I just finished watching the 6th episode of Star Wars Visions Volume 2, that being The Spy Dancer. So this episode is written and directed by Julien Chheng, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and it's animated by Studio La Cachette. Cachette, something like that. It's a French studio, so I'm probably pronouncing it slightly wrong, because, yeah, I know a few French sounds, but language is weird. But moving on from that. So you can definitely actually see the French influence in this episode. One thing, the very first thing when I heard the episode titled The Spy Dancer, guess what I thought of? Mata Hari, World War I French spy who was accused of spying for the Germans. All that. That's the first thing I thought of. But actually, this episode takes more inspiration from during the occupation of France during World War II, where French entertainers were, perform in front of the German soldiers, but also try to get intelligence or whatever out of them to give to the French resistance. That's more the inspiration they took in this episode. And the main character, Louis, she's the main dancer of the club that they're at, and she's doing her dancing, she's actually putting trackers on all the Imperials and even some of their equipment too, since she trackers the ghosts, and that way the resistance on that planet has an opportunity to, track them and actually be able to successfully resist and fight against the Empire. Of course, things go awry when she spots a familiar Imperial officer. At first, she thinks it's the officer that took her son. We find that out a little later, but we saw the flashback, so we knew it was a traumatic experience for her. But it turns out it wasn't that officer. We find out later on in the episode that it was actually her son, who was taken by that Imperial officer and raised to be an Imperial. So kind of tough thing right there for her to deal with. But she does let him go. But she does still leave a tracker on a piece actually a piece of her costume that she gives to him that's actually a hologram of him as a infant. You can tell he's starting to be conflicted now. So they're setting up some interesting stuff here, but it really ends on kind of a little bit of a hopeful note, if you will. Everyone escapes the club after she tries to kill the officer who she thought was the one who stole her son, and so even though essentially the cover was blown, things are not all lost because now they have instilled doubt into a member of the Empire. That could be very beneficial for them or not, but it ends on that hopeful note. And there's also another character, I forget her name, but she's not the main dancer, but she's basically her cover is as the sweet little waitress, but she wants to do more to fight the Empire. Well, she does get the opportunity in this episode, and she and one of the Resistance members, John, successfully take out a KX security droid, which is pretty impressive. But they really did a good job in this episode of conveying the environment of, a planet under occupation where you have to pretend that you're getting along so that way you can actually be able to successfully fight them a bit later on. Like, sure, we saw in Star Wars Rebels and also Star Wars Resistance, people fighting against the Empire, against the First Order, but not really too much in terms of subterfuge. Even in Star Wars Andor, where there's a lot more cloak and dagger, except for Mon Mothma and what's his name, Lucen. There's not too many people feigning affection for the Empire to to help the resistance or rebels by gathering intelligence. That's I'm actually kind of surprised that that's not addressed enough in the Empire. Sure, we get people complaining about the Empire, like, okay, in public we have to be this way, but you don't get too much in Star Wars of seeing people fighting the Empire by feigning loyalty. Really, Andor is really the best example of that, and even then, Andor is our main character. Mon Mothma is just a major supporting character, or co-lead in some regards, but still not the titular character of the show. Spy Dancer, it's the titular character, and everyone working with her who are doing it, who are basically being spies in probably the classic. There's two types of spies, the person who's sneaking from the rooftops using binoculars or whatever and observing what's going on, and then there's a spy who embeds himself in the enemy to gather intelligence. Surprisingly, we mention that a lot in Star Trek, but we don't get many protagonists who are doing that, that we are following who are doing that. We don't get that a lot, but I really do like how they did that in this episode. Also, can we just say that this is another story about motherhood, just like I Am Your Mother. It's just another story about that. But this one I like a bit better, probably because I didn't see where the story was going, so it was easier for me to be like surprised and excited by the next development in the plot line. But very much there's also some inspiration from how Luke was tempted by his father being on the dark side. Well, here's Louis basically tempting her own son back to the light side. I mean, that's just those parallels though with other Star Wars elements is just so great. This really was an amazing short, and I really did enjoy it. But I want to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comment section down below. There's so much more we can talk about, and that's what the comment section is for. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and may the force be with you always. Thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, upvote, and share the video. Also consider subscribing and following the channel if you haven't done so yet, and to ring that bell on YouTube to get notified of when new videos release. The link tree in the description links to all my social media. Check it out if you are interested, and once again, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.